Hey you guys, it's Professor Vitt, and this is the syllabus video. I'm going to make a general point here as I start, which is that I'm going to just push through this video. Normally in class, I would go a little bit slower. I would stop for questions. I would ask questions. But because this is a video, you'll be able to pause and rewind a bit. And I try to do this in all the lectures. In other words, the video you may watch maybe 30 or 40 minutes, but that's actually a few hours of lecture based, when you take out all of the interruptions. So because you can stop and rewind and go back over this stuff, I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. So that's just a little side note there. Okay, couple of things. This is Philosophy 11, Long Beach City College, Critical Thinking. I'm Professor Vitt. You are in one of two sections if you're watching this video. I hope you wouldn't be watching it just for kicks. You're in 31-739 or you're in 31-236. It doesn't matter which one you're in, but in case you get your syllabus out and you're looking at it and you go, oh my gosh, there are two classes here. No, it's by design. There are two sections there for this semester. All right, so we're going to be studying critical thinking, and the first thing I wanted to start with is a quote from a Mexican philosopher, Jose Vasconcelos. And I want to thank Professor Garcia for assisting me in translation of this passage. I did manage to get some of it out, but I really lacked the the connotations and the flowery language that it needed. So thank you, Professor Garcia. Only books will lift this country out of ignorant cruelty. The idea here is that reading and learning give us knowledge, and that can move us past a kind of base animalistic state where we just respond out of anger or frustration or envy or hatred, right? So the idea behind this course is to develop your analytic mind, try and work on forming your thoughts with reasons for those thoughts, right? Rather than just thinking something. All right. Your grade. This is the one thing everybody wants to know about. Your grade is determined by three groups of activities. The first one here, this will take place at the end of the class, is a presentation. You're going to pick a topic. It'll be a fun one, something about ghosts and mysteries and all that stuff, a paranormal topic. And then you will do a presentation. You don't need to go to my office to do it. You don't need to videotape yourself doing it. You'll just turn in your PowerPoint. That's usually the most fun, most interesting part of the course for students. Next up is the paper. Paper's going to be on Roswell, New Mexico. We'll get into that later, but it's one of the most famous UFO sightings in all of American history. And we will stop and think about what would constitute evidence for some of the claims that people who believe in Roswell will make. And I'll help you structure your paper and so forth. And I also provide students the ability to rewrite their paper. So if you feel like you write the paper and you don't do very well, you are eligible for a rewrite. And you can rewrite the paper, taking on board some of my comments, and then hopefully for a higher grade. The last component is the biggest one here. This is half of your grade, and these are the quizzes. The way that the quizzes work is they are online. In some cases, you can take the quiz more than once. They're online, and they're based on a set of notes that I give you and a series of lectures that I give. All of the material that you need is in the notes. I've made sure of that. But sometimes it may be difficult to just only read the notes. You'll probably need to watch those lecture videos too. And I make every effort to make them as interesting and as fun as possible. You can be the judge as to how successful I am. Okay. Your grade is just determined on a single letter grade. There are no pluses and minuses. It's good, it's bad, it is what it is. So this is just dictated here by Long Beach City College, so this is the way that we'll do it. And we'll roll now to another quote. This quote is from Mary Wollstonecraft, and she writes, "The being cannot be termed rational or virtuous who obeys any authority but that of reason." What does she mean? Well, she means, look, if you really want to be thought of as rational or a good person, you need to use your brain. Because sometimes our emotions take hold of us and they lead us to the wrong conclusion. And the only way that we can get out of that, the only principal mechanism that we really have, is reason and the exercise of reason. And so what does that mean? It means that reason tells us when we make a mistake, but prejudice or emotions don't tell us when we're making a mistake. They just are what they are. They do not self-correct. Right? If you make an error in a logical proof, we can show someone, look, I would accept your position, but you made an error in your logic. That's different from saying, oh, I just don't agree with you. Oh, you're a fool, blah, 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 right? We're aiming for the more logical approach. And that's embodied in this quote. All right, next up are the student learning outcomes. Now, I'm going to read through these, but I don't expect you to know what they are because you are taking the course. If you really wanted, you could go back and watch this video again at another date and say, oh yeah, we did do that stuff, but I don't think you'll need to. All right. Analyze arguments and components of arguments. That's the first thing. Distinguish between examples of inductive arguments and deductive arguments. And evaluate inductive arguments for strength, cogency, and/or presence of fallacies in speech or text. All right, let's talk about them just generally. The first one is trying to get you to think in terms of reasons for your conclusion, not just your conclusion. So you may feel that capital punishment is unjust. That's a good opinion to have, but I need you to have reasons for thinking that it's true. It's not enough that you just think that it's true. You have to support it with reason, evidence, and argumentation. That's that component. Next up, we're going to be distinguishing between examples of induction and deduction, or inductive arguments and deductive arguments. These are fancy names, okay? All that it means is, in a deductive argument, if you accept the reasons that you have for thinking something, you must then accept the thing that you think, your conclusion. So your premises will guarantee your conclusion. The reasons you have for thinking something will force someone to accept that conclusion. That's deductive reasoning. We see that a lot in logic and mathematics. The other bit there, inductive arguments, are more how we reason on a day-to-day basis. Sort of, the sun rose yesterday, so it's probably going to raise today. Inductive arguments don't provide the same level of support for a conclusion that deductive arguments do, but we use inductive arguments a lot more, so we're going to look for errors that we make when we use it. And that is exactly what this final student learning outcome tells us, evaluating inductive arguments for strength, cogency, and/or the presence of fallacies in speech or text. What does that mean? It means we are going to learn how to think properly. You might consider an analogy here to, there's a very famous football player named Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders was a great athlete. He was amazing. But it wasn't just that he was an athlete that made him so good. It wasn't just that he was fast and strong. It was that he understood the game. And years ago, towards the end of Deion Sanders' career, there was a Monday Night Football game, and there was some showdown. I don't remember who it was, but it was a rookie going against Deion Sanders. And the rookie was very highly touted. He was this great talent. He was gonna, this was it. And he had a terrible game. He had an awful game. He didn't have any receptions. It was bad news. And they interviewed him after the game, and they asked him, what was it like to go against Deion Sanders? And he said, I've never played a football game like that in my life. What happened was, on every single play, Deion Sanders would tell him what he did wrong. So, the first route, the guy lines up, he's against Deion Sanders, and Deion Sanders is all over him, right? The guy can't get free. And after the whistle blows, Deion Sanders says, ooh, hold on, I've got a visitor, hold on. Okay, so, sorry I had to switch spots here. I'm in the, hold on, let's go. Stop, the kitchen. So, at the end of that first play, the whistle blows, and Deion Sanders walks up to the receiver and says, hey, I just want to give you a tip. I saw your hips slant, so I knew you were going to run this kind of route, and blah, 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 and then, right, and he told him exactly what he did wrong. And then Sanders did this throughout the game, and what it showed to that rookie was, my gosh, he has a lot to learn, but there's an important takeaway, and I promise I'll get there. The idea is, it's one thing to be an athlete, And being an athlete who's, really gifted and can jump high and move fast and all that stuff, that's part of a game. But if you talk to professional athletes, they'll tell you that's only one part of it. The rest of it is technique and learning the fundamentals of how to play this game, right? How to really run a route in football, or how to really set a pick in basketball. It's not just being strong, it's understanding. The same thing is true when it comes to thinking. People make fundamental errors over and over and over and over again in their thoughts. They make them so frequently we actually have names for them. They're called fallacies. And you can be really very, 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 very intelligent. You can be super smart. But unless someone shows you the proper form, right? This is how you reason. These are fallacies. You'll be limited in your growth. And so the point of this class is to give you those fundamental pointers that will help you move through a variety of different kinds of complex issues. So this isn't really a class that you're going to use, because it's biology or history. But this is a class that you would use in your biology or your history courses because you're developing tools that will assist you in thinking properly. I hope that makes sense. By the way, I know the background has changed. That will happen regularly throughout my videos. Some of them I do in the office at school. Some of them I do in my kids' room. It's like wherever I can get. So throughout this course, I'm moving around. And definitely you'll see my kids, they kind of pop up now and then in the videos. I apologize, it's pretty momentary, but it does happen. Okay, this little alien here is gonna tell us about Roswell. We're gonna be covering that in this class. Why do we cover this, right? This is a piece of American folklore. Some people think it's true. That aliens crash landed in the New Mexico desert in 1947. Now, you may or may not believe that. I don't care which it is, but I care that you have the proper reasoning for that. So this is a big theme in the course, and I want to make the point now, and I'll make it again later. I don't care what you think, I care how you think. And so I've had students who take this course and they look at all that information and all that evidence and they go, yeah, I think it's totally correct. I think aliens landed. And then I've had students who've looked at all the evidence and said, there's just no good reason to think it's true. It's a nice story, but I don't believe it. Both of those students can get A's. So I'm not trying to tell you what to believe here. That's totally the opposite of this course. I'm trying to get you to think properly or in ways that maximize the number of beliefs that you have, which will be true. Okay, next up. We'll also be covering second sight. So these are cases where people believe they have ESP or psychic powers. They think that the brain or the spirit is able somehow to apprehend information it couldn't through normal sensory perception. All right, next up we have perception, which we'll be talking about quite a bit. Perception is important because it's very closely linked to cognition. In other words, how you think is really similar to how you perceive things. So we'll be covering a bit of that. We'll be covering memories. It turns out your memories aren't very accurate. Now, you probably just said, oh yeah, well mine are because I remember them really well. You are very good at believing your memories are accurate, but it turns out when we look at clinical data, when we look at how the brain actually performs, it's not an effective way to recall information. Things get jumbled, things get incorrect, and so we'll look at that. All right, next up, this is kind of the underlying focus of the paper of the course. Control your mind, or someone else will. And that's just true. I want you guys to go on and lead great lives and do all kinds of fantastic things that you want. You know, I want you to make the decisions that you want to make. I don't want you to be fooled by somebody else. All right. And for those of you watching, I just switched to Word. It doesn't affect the video in any way. Okay, so we have another quote here. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. What does that mean? It means that you will develop the ability to listen to someone with whom you disagree without letting your mind automatically poo-poo what they're going to say. You'll apply fair standards of evidence and reason to someone's position. That's what education is. You're able to look at something from a less biased perspective. That's the goal, anyway, of education. All right, couple quick side notes here. I have my office hours here. I am on campus, and any of my online students are, of course, welcome to come to my office hours. I have them Monday and Wednesday morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Tuesday, I'm do my online office hours from 10 to 12, so if you email me then, I'll be able to get back to you for sure. And then Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Now, those are my scheduled office hours, but I'm available on other occasions too. If you wanted to set an appointment with me, none of those days and times work for you. You want to talk on the phone, that's fine too. Please let me know. Don't feel like, oh no, I can't make it to those few hours and I'm not gonna. No. It's not like that at all. Message me and we'll set something up. Okay, course catalog. This is not something that I wrote, but we'll read it anyway just to be sure. Course catalog description. This class focuses on the improvement of practical reasoning skills. Students will be required to improve their reasoning skills and will learn to detect and avoid common argument fallacies. Those are those errors in reasoning that we talked about. Students will develop the knowledge and habits needed to make decisions between conflicting ideas and belief. Applications are made to both contemporary and perennial issues, such as current political events, the news media, science versus pseudoscience, and capital punishment. We already covered those student learning outcomes. This is the good news. Required text and materials, it's open source. Now, you'll end up using my notes a lot more than you use that textbook, but there's the link for you. It's on my Google Drive if you need it. I received a grant from Long Beach City College. Thank you, district, for which allowed me to employ this open source resource for you guys. So the bottom line is you don't have to spend $50 on the book. Yay! Okay, and we have some other stuff there that we've already covered, our course requirements, paper presentation, and so forth. All right, next thing, most important, I've talked about getting in touch with me. And the best way to do that is the Canvas inbox right here, right? That's the best way to do it. I check that frequently for students, more frequently than I check my email. And so if you need to contact me, Canvas is the best place to do it. Okay, I also have social media accounts. I've got an Instagram and I've got a Twitter account. These are social media accounts. They express my views and not those of Long Beach City College. So if you want to see Professor Vitt complaining about politics, you can go to his Twitter or something like that, or Instagram. You don't need to. I do want to mention one thing. Politically, I tend to be more liberal than the average person. I went to a very conservative law school, though. And during that actually ended up being 4 years, because I did an MBA too, I had a lot of conversations and exposure to conservative intellectuals. And that was one of the best things for me. I don't want any of my students to feel like they need to adopt or mimic or pretend to believe the same way I do in order to get a good grade. It's just not the way the world works. We don't need another liberal Professor Vitt. We need you. And we need you developing your ideas and your insights and your opinions. That's far more important than just trying to please me. So I want to just encourage you guys to never believe what I do because I'm, here. Figure stuff out for yourself. That's really the goal of the course. It means more to me that you find your own way and your own voice than that you try to emulate mine. Okay, next up. This kind of threads right into it. The commitment to viewpoint diversity, mutual understanding, and constructive disagreement. This comes from the Heterodox Academy. This is an organization of which I am a member, and it's a group of academics who are concerned that sometimes people, how do I put it? they're concerned that there's not enough variety in academia, and that we need people with more perspectives and more ideas. The problem is, if everybody thinks the same way, then you get something called groupthink. When you get groupthink, errors get made. You miss things. And so nothing that I teach here is immune from scrutiny or debate. You may not agree with anything that I say. That's absolutely fine. You know, you are not graded on your opinions. You're graded on the subject matter. So next point, and this doesn't come in too much in online classes, but once in a while it does. I believe very strongly in your right to have a freedom, you know, to exercise your freedom of speech. And so you are entitled to develop and expand your own opinions and your own judgments. You shouldn't feel like I'm curtailing what you say or what you do. Okay, the rest of the stuff, let's do a little bit of house cleaning. Note about dropping the course. You'll have to drop the course. I don't drop you for it. I've had students who email me and say, hey, I need you to drop me, or I need you to do this, because that's admissions and records. They're the ones who drop you, not me. Class participation. This is the one most important thing in this class. The modules open on certain dates. They don't open ahead of time unless I open them because, you know, we have time. But once the module closes, it's closed forever. So if you're not going to finish something on time, send me the message and I will happily grant you an extension. But once the deadline hits, I can't do anything at that point because it's already stopped. So do, you know, me and you a favor and please let me know. Hey, Professor Vitt, I ain't going to get that paper done on time. Can I have a day or something? Absolutely. Look, things happen. People get hurt. People get into car accidents. People have, you know, I mean, there are thousands of things that can happen that can cause a delay. Let me know before the deadline hits. Don't message me after, and because at that point, then it's not fair to anyone else, right, if I extend it. So happy to work with you guys, but please make sure that you're logging in regularly. If I message you and I say, hey, your upload didn't work, or I message you and say, I never got this assignment, I'll need you to get back to me. This isn't a course that you can log in and do it all at the end. All right, content disclaimer. I've mentioned this above, and above I told you I would mention it again down below. Your course grade does not depend upon what you believe. And the attitudes expressed in the textbook, you don't have to accept them, right? I'm just here to teach you how to think. I'm not here to teach you what to think. That's important. So don't feel like you're pinned into a corner because of something that I say. Next up, internet access is a total must. You have to have it because this is an online course, but if you didn't have it, I don't know why that would matter because you wouldn't be listening to an online video. Students' current electronic email, gotta make sure that it's the one that you use for Canvas. If something comes up and it's time sensitive, it will not help if you say, well, you sent it to this email account, Professor Vitt, and I never checked that, so I never got it. Your email account has to be the one that's connected to Canvas so that I can contact you, you know, within a reasonable period of time. Next up, academic integrity and plagiarism. Okay, how does this work? Very often, let me just break it down first. Plagiarism. Plagiarism is stealing someone else's work and treating it like it's your own. When that comes to coursework, it usually means someone's writing a paper and they cut and paste from another blog or another post or another paper and they put it in their own and they go, aha, there it is. Now, if you want to quote or use somebody else's material, you can do it, but you got to put it in quotes. You cannot use somebody else's work as your own, and if you do that, that is very serious violation of the student code. So if you are in a position where you feel like, gosh, I got to write this paper, I don't have time, I'm just going to cut and paste, don't beat yourself up. Email me, message me, and say, hey, Professor Vitt, I need another day, or I need a couple days. Okay, that's fine, I can work with that. But I can't work with someone turning in work and representing it as their own when in fact it's somebody else's. Now, when it comes to the paper, Roswell, the format for it is pretty specific, and so I don't think you'll find many, if any, kind of cases online where you can pull from it. But certainly I've had people pull information from blog posts and online stuff, and I've researched enough of this to be pretty familiar with the first 2 or 3 pages of Google, like the Google results, and so I'll catch it if it happens. So just write it out in your own words. That's the goal, right? I want to know how you articulate these things, how you say these things, not how somebody else somewhere else has said them. Student Success Centers, these are super important, and I would encourage you guys to take advantage of them. People get paid a lot of money to be there to help, and I think you should take total advantage of it. Access services are the very same, DSPMS. Look, some people are entitled to extra time on an exam, note takers, so forth. That's because they need that stuff. That's equity, right? And that's getting you those things. I encourage you, if you think you might have need for some of that, contact some of those people, click on those links, and see whether or not that is right for you. Veterans and eligible family members. I want to thank all the veterans for their service. My uncle served in World War II, and it was a big part of his identity and a big part of his life. And I just want to refer you guys to our Veterans Affairs office in E10. And if there's anything I can do, let me know. I'm happy to help. All right. Career and Job Services Center. I just had a friend a couple months now. Well, it's been a while now, within the last year, who had her resume redone. And she paid someone to do this, to revamp it, to make it look right and perfect. And you know that the final bill for that had a comma in it, meaning it was over $1,000. If you are trying to get a job or you're trying to get a resume together, please use those services. The district puts a lot of money into having those people there and having them work. You might as well get the benefit from it. Okay, assignments. The assignment schedule is going to be tentative. Some things may open up a little bit later. I will never, ever, ever shorten the amount of time that has been scheduled for you guys. So in other words, you will never have a case where you have 5 days for something when I originally told you you'd have 7. Now you may have a case where I told you, oh, this assignment will take 2 weeks and I give you 3, but I'll never cut you short. Okay, late assignments. There are no late makeups. Contact me before the due date. Discipline. Usually students are pretty good online and we don't have many personal disagreements or personal attacks. But I do want to say, you'll definitely, at some point in this class, you're going to engage with your fellow students. And when you do so, it's perfectly fine to disagree, but it is never okay to attack them personally. So you could say, hey, your reasoning here is pretty bad, here's why, but you may not say, you are a fool and stupid and you smell, right? That's attacking the person as opposed to their argument. All right. And then same, with classroom decorum. I mean, behave in an appropriate manner. It's important, we don't all meet together, but we will all interact. And so it's important that we do it in a positive way because that's how the brain learns. If the brain is stressed out, right, or it's hungry, it's not going to learn as well, right? The neocortex can't do its job if that reptilian brain is going loco. All right. Okay, so decorum, right? We want to try and be collegial to other people, and we want to be aware that sometimes we'll be exposed to ideas that we may find objectionable. So, some of the topics in here involve objectionable language or adult topics. So, I don't know, maybe like, for example, one of the things that we'll cover is a very famous case of Spring-Heeled Jack, and there are some crimes involved. He attacks people. This is just part of the program, right? It's just part of a topic that we're covering, and there'll be lots of different topics like that. And I just want to let you know, part of education is being exposed to alternative viewpoints and different ideas and kind of seeing the world in a bigger way. When that happens, just try to maintain a courteous demeanor. Class attendance, look, if you log in once a month, you will fail the class. You should be logging in, every week, or checking in just to make sure that you haven't lost anything. Nothing's been lost in the shuffle. General guidelines: spelling, grammar, and punctuation always count. Now, this is really true when you turn in your paper. If you're not capitalizing the starts of sentences and things like that, then they're going to be. I'm going to have to count down for that. If you message me, it happens. People email me and they have grammar mistakes. I email people and I have grammar mistakes in their stuff. But make the genuine effort to not just do stream of consciousness. The reason why I say this is people judge you on how you write. And they will judge you improperly if they think that you don't know how to write. They'll think that you're less intelligent than you are. Now, it's not a proper inference, but that's what they're going to think. So I want to try to help and get you guys into the habit of writing as though someone's going to be looking at this and someone's going to be assessing. Is it written grammatically correct? Is it composed properly? That kind of thing. All right, here we go. We finally made it. Whew! This is the class schedule, right? What is this going to look like? Okay, we have spring break from the 8th through the 13th. We won't do anything, obviously, during that week. The first 2 weeks, you're going to be doing Module 1. You're going to be doing the Critical Thinking Toolkit outline. The first module is built to ease you into the course. And so you may finish Module 1 in the first week, in the first couple days, I don't know. Realize then, okay, you've got a little breather coming. It's just meant to let everybody get caught up. Sometimes people are late adding, or they're having difficulty, figuring stuff out, or they've never done an online course. The first section is intended to give you a little bit of a breather, not to rush into everything. After that, we'll just kind of roll through our different modules, what they are, what they're about. This particular schedule is subject to revision. Look, something's going to come up. We'll change something. We'll add something. We'll take something away. It will not materially alter how you're graded. But if I get 30 emails from students who say, look, I'm dying in the module on sources. I can't finish this. It's too much, or it's unclear. Then I'll post supplemental stuff and I'll extend the due date. I just don't want you to feel like you're abandoned in this course. I've taken online courses, and I have friends who have, and my wife has, and some of them you never hear from that professor, right? And I don't want you to have that experience, because that's the opposite of education. So this is just a general rundown. I'll try to open the presentation module before May the 21st, so you get some time to work on it. But I just don't want to cause anybody any stress. So, okay, that is the syllabus. Now, I hope that's not too long. If you have any concerns or questions, go ahead and message me, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. Given that it's taken this long, I'll just tell you 5 minutes about me. I studied philosophy as an undergraduate at UC Riverside. Before that, I transferred twice. So if you're a transfer student, what's up? And then I went to graduate school in philosophy in New York City at the City University of New York Graduate Center. Loved it. But it was a little political, and I decided to leave graduate school, and I went to law school. And in law school, I just loved it, and it was really interesting to me, but I was taking a course in contracts, and I didn't quite understand what was happening in a few of the cases. And anyway, I talked to my professor, and he encouraged me to apply to an MBA program, which I did, and I was accepted. So I got my JD and my MBA. Then I took the bar, and I became an attorney, and I practiced for 4 years or so. I worked at a small boutique firm in Long Beach, and then I ended up found my own place and did all kinds of different stuff. And long story short, being an attorney is living in a world of conflict. You're in a fight. Somebody disagrees about something. Language isn't clear. Somebody's not honoring their end of the bargain. Somebody's not treating their children properly. Someone wants a divorce, right? All of law is essentially built for controversy. And it's a stressful position. And I can do that kind of work, but it's not my favorite. And one day my wife said, Ryan needs a class taught in philosophy. You have your degree, you should do it. And I did. And within, that first class session, I think it was the second class session, I realized, I should have never gone to law school. I should have just stayed in grad school. And so, because I married the right person, right? And she supported me, I moved from being an attorney to being a professor. So, there was a huge jump financially. It was a huge pay cut, 80% pay cut. But I'm much happier. And so why is this relevant? Well, you may be starting a second career or looking for a first one. And I want to tell you that life is not a straight line. And what I thought I would be doing, when I was coming out of law school is not what I'm doing, but I actually prefer what I'm doing more. And you may be in that position. You may be shifting your career. You may be thinking about a career. If I can help in any way on that, please let me know. But what does this matter? Why is it relevant, right? Other than my own vanity, right? That I'm into myself. Well, it matters because I'm doing exactly what I want to do. If I won the lottery, boom, I'd be a philosophy professor. That's it. I wouldn't quit this job. I'd move closer to campus, but I wouldn't quit the job. And so for me, I want to do, I want to answer your questions. I want to hear from you. I want to teach this stuff. I really do. And so I want you to know that because I think sometimes it can be hard. Some people aren't really into teaching, but they're professors or whatever. That's not really the case too much here at Long Beach, but it is in other places. And if you've had that experience, it can be crushing. So I just wanted to let you know I'm here for you if you have any questions or concerns. And I'm super grateful for the job that I do have. So if you're emailing me and it's been, a day and you haven't heard from me, email me again. I'd love to hear from you. Don't sweat it at all. Okay? All right. We'll move on down the line there and finish your next thing. Thank you guys very much. And that's the syllabus video.